Welcome to another episode of Healing the Inner Child. I'm really glad you're here. In this episode, I want to talk about my negative experiences with drugs and alcohol. As I've mentioned before, my father was a violent person and an alcoholic. That's a pretty bad combination right there. Knowing what I know about his adolescence and teenage years, I'm pretty sure drinking was one of the ways he coped with his own past. He also had a very violent upbringing. I don't know if his father was an alcoholic, but I do know he was very violent and mistreated his family like they were nothing. Sometimes I wonder how far back that kind of behavior goes in my family. Maybe it was something that had been passed down from one generation to the next. I'll never really know. And I'm not talking about spanking your kids or anything like that. I'm talking about full blown beatings, the kind where it feels like you've been thrown into a UFC octagon against someone who has a huge advantage over you, and all you can do is lay there and take the beating. That might sound extreme, but that was the reality for me and my brother. As I got older, I vowed that I wasn't going to continue that tradition of drinking and violence. I had seen how my father behaved when he drank, and for a while I saw alcohol as something very negative. But I did start drinking when I was probably around 15 years old during my sophomore year of high school. It wasn't an everyday thing because I never drank at home. My parents didn't allow it. My friends' parents were also strict about not allowing alcohol in their homes, so it really didn't become more frequent until I was 21 and I could buy my own beer and liquor. Now, to be fair, I never really abused alcohol during those years. I drank, but I knew my limits. I only had one really bad experience where I ended up vomiting and dealing with a horrible hangover. That was enough for me to say, forget that. I never did that again. I managed to put a limit on how much I drank and when I did drink. But one thing I did abuse was marijuana. I'm honestly not even sure why I did it. It always turned me into a zombie. My body would be in the room, but my mind would be somewhere else, busy playing with the demons in my head. People could be around me, talking to me, but mentally, I wasn't really there. The habit probably started when I was around 19 and continued until I was about 32. That's a lot of years to waste on something that ultimately wasn't helping me. Most of my memories from that time period are blurry or missing because of it. I told myself I was using marijuana to help with my anxiety, and sometimes it did help. But most of the time, my mind was still just too busy. I was either depressed, thinking about my past, or anxious, worrying about my future. Nothing was really gained, and I'm sure it's also another thing that pushed my ex away because I wasn't very present when I was high. I've been clean for marijuana for a little over 5 years now, and I don't miss it at all. I still haven't completely forgiven myself for wasting all those years. That was a time I could have spent strengthening my relationship with my friends, my family, and my kid's mom. Yeah, there's no excuse for it. It sucks, but it's done now. The shit show between me and my kid's mom really took off in 2022, And that's when my relationship with alcohol began to change. She had broken up with me, but we were still living together because we were supposedly going to try and make things work. More than anything, I wanted to make it work because I wanted to keep my family together. At the time, just the thought of being apart from my kids was enough to scare me. I had no idea what was coming, but I could already see that she had checked out. Things were no longer the same. So when the kids went to bed and she stepped out, I would drink. I was trying to numb the pain. 2023 is a year I'll never forget. That year will forever leave a mental scar on me. It was in March when she finally said, "Hey, since we're basically just living like roommates now, it's probably time to part ways." I agreed, but it was the worst day of my life. I finally moved out the following month in April and moved in with my parents. It was rough, but I managed not to drink heavily during that time. Then later that month, one night, something happened that changed everything. My father got drunk and became extremely verbally violent toward my mother. Being there and witnessing it as an adult was different from when I was a child. This time, I felt like I had to step in. Of course, he got in my face, but thankfully, nothing physical happened. Because he was drunk, he told me everything he felt about me. It was bad. I couldn't believe my own father was saying those things to me. And then he finished it by kicking me out of the house. It was the middle of the night, so I didn't leave until the next day. I called my kid's mom and explained what happened. I told her that I didn't have anywhere to stay. So I ended up back at her place while I tried to figure out where I was going to live. Otherwise, I would have been forced to live in my car. And I could tell she really wanted me out of there as soon as possible. I stayed there for about 3 weeks until my sister, God bless her, offered me a spare bedroom in her home. It was pretty far from my kids, but I accepted. I told myself I would make it work somehow. I would commute back and forth so I could still see my kids. I lived with her for a little over 3 months while I looked for a place of my own. Having only one source of income made that difficult. And wow, I was living there, my drinking got worse. I was pretty much drinking just about every night. Then when I finally got my own place, it became a everyday thing. High alcohol, stout beer, and whiskey became my best friends every single night, even when my kids were home. And that's something I'm not proud of. I still knew my limit well enough that I wouldn't be throwing up all night, but I was getting drunk just about every night. Or at the very least, I was making sure I had a buzz. It wasn't until early 2025 when I started experiencing some health issues that I knew were related to my drinking that I finally decided I had to quit. I quit cold turkey on March 2025. I was scared. I was going to die and leave my kids behind. I wanted to see my kids grow up. I wanted to be there for them. But my body was telling me that what I was doing wasn't going to work out long term. So I had to quit. And I've been sober ever since. Even my sleep got better. Looking back now, I see nothing I truly gained from alcohol or marijuana. Neither one was benefiting me in the ways I thought they were. If anything, they were taking things away from me. My time, my presence, my relationships, and in some ways, pieces of myself. To anyone out there struggling with addiction, I want you to know that I'm rooting for you. I wish you the best, and I encourage you not to stop fighting. If I can do it, so can you. It won't be easy, but it's not impossible. You've got this. Before I wrap up, I just want to take a moment to say thank you. I've been looking at some of the podcast metrics recently, and one thing that really stood out to me is seeing people listening from different parts of the world. It's honestly something I never expected when I first started this podcast. When I began recording, I didn't know if anyone would listen. I just hoped that if one person heard my story and felt a little less alone, then it would be worth it. So whether you've listened to one episode or you've been here from the beginning, I just want you to know that I truly appreciate you giving me your time and allowing me to share these stories and experiences with you. I don't take that for granted. I hope these conversations continue to remind you that healing isn't always easy, and it certainly isn't linear. But wherever you are in your journey, I hope you know that you're not alone. Thank you for listening. It truly means more to me than you know. And I'll talk to you in the next episode.